So if you said there's 4,000 people in your database, that means there's 80 opportunities.
Right.
Not today, because you haven't been talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe over a few years.
3, 2, 1. Seeking the best, being my best. Do do da 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 da. Seeking the best, seeking the best, seeking the best, 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 best.
Welcome to Seeking the Best, the podcast for growth-minded real estate agents seeking clarity, focus, and a better way forward. I'm your host, Catherine Stelgis, and sitting across from me is my co-host, Patrick Fatika, our sound engineer, producer extraordinaire.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, we are outside in North Carolina, sitting at our vacation rental in Black Mountain, North Carolina. Yeah. And so this is weird. This could be awesome, or it could go terribly wrong.
Yep.
At any moment, so a bear could walk out of the woods.
Yeah, if you're just listening to this on Apple or something like that, it's going to sound a little bit different today.
Yeah.
It's weird for us because we don't have our headphones on and we're sitting outside.
It's very weird.
But also, this is a good opportunity to go to YouTube or Spotify and take a look at the video of today's show.
You'll see our we've got a little house on it's like an acre lot, and the house is over there. But
it's on that side, yeah.
There was an old house here that they tore down. Somebody else tore down and left this beautiful fireplace. So we of course left it as well, and so we're just set up shop here. There's a little bunny jumping just to the front of me.
We are in nature, yeah.
And it would be awesome if that little bunny jumped right over here.
Kind of ran right by.
Shot.
Sure.
But they come out of the little bushes every morning and have their little breakfast. So it's just beautiful. It's magical here in Black Mountain, North Carolina.
And it is morning for real.
It's for real morning.
It's actually, we left 110 degree heat in Florida, and it is probably in the mid 60s right now. And I'm a little chilly.
Yeah.
For summer, yeah.
But it's beautiful. So we've been talking all season about lead generation, and specifically lead generation, like the reasons that we don't do the things that we're supposed to do, or we give up too early on something because we say like, oh, that doesn't work. When really there's some underlying thing that usually is the case. Now, I'm not suggesting that every lead source is right for every person, but I think I've met enough agents and have experienced it myself enough to know that we give up way too early to know if it's going to work or if we're going to be good at it.
Right.
The reality is that real estate is just a numbers game, so it will work. Like, you may have to do more activities if you're not very good at something. Like we've talked about expireds.
Well, you got to think about it this way. If you're a newer agent, and maybe you're talking to a mentor in the office or the lead broker, and they say, lead sources do this, this, and this. And then you say, with hardly any experience behind you, saying, that doesn't work. Right? Think about that for 2 seconds. It does work. You're just not doing it right. Like, otherwise it would not be suggested to you. You're not doing it right, or you haven't done it for long enough.
That's usually the answer.
Right. Okay. So
the doing it right part is a skill. You can learn how to do it right.
That's the part I guess I don't understand, is how does an agent who's 8 months into the business trying a new lead source because it was offered up to them by somebody in their office or like I said, a mentor, and then say, I've tried that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like, it does work. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been suggested to you of one of the 6 lead sources that exist in the field of real estate and the field of sales in general, right? And
so in these conversations that we've had so far this season, we talked about like expireds, for example. You may have to, if you start expireds and you've never done that kind of prospecting before, you're going to have to do more dials and more calls than, well, that's the same thing, but you're going to have to do more of the activity than somebody who's been doing it for a while. But the numbers will eventually work out. It's always over time. Things work. The real estate lead generation sources work over time.
Yeah.
And So we're talking today, though, about one that I hear all the time. Like, I actually don't think that people talk about it a lot as a lead source, and they get it mixed up.
Okay.
So it's just database.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So a lot of times people will say, well, I have like 3,000 people in my database or 4,000 people in my database. And it's like, that's not your sphere. So I guess before we get into database as a lead generation source, it would help to understand, because the
difference between sphere and database.
Because I've just talked to too many people over the years.
Yeah, and we've done an episode. I think the first one we did this season was sphere.
Yes, we've got one for sphere and past clients.
I do hear people interchange database and sphere as if they are the same thing.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
So what's the easiest way to draw that line down the middle of these are sphere, this is database, this is how you tell which is which?
I think the easiest way, and I probably said it in the sphere episode too, is would they know who you are if you called them today? And if the answer is no, then they're not your sphere past client list.
And by meaning that, what we're not talking about, well, I met them at the open house last week.
Well, so let's get real clear. Over time, so your database starts to consist of all of the people that you've dumped into it, which could come from all kinds of different initial sources, right? So like you could do open houses 5 years ago, have added them to your database, your CRM, your customer relationship management system, and they're in your database. But they were an open house lead when you met them at the open house and you had the opportunity to convert them then. 5 years later, they're just some rando in your database, right?
Yeah.
So same thing with like if they inquired on a website 3 years ago about a listing, at that time it was a listing inquiry. That was the lead source. And over time though, you're going to have to communicate with them differently in order to generate actual business from them, because you've lost track of them. And so that could be anything. I'm just going to kind of list off a few other things. Like you could go to a networking event and you could have added people. Now those people never even had a real estate need, but you added them to your database with the hope that they would be your sphere. But you didn't actually call and follow up and do the touches necessary to get them to remember who you are.
Is there just people that you have a phone number
and maybe
their name and an email address?
And an email and a phone number, maybe all three things, maybe even their mailing address. But if you picked up the phone today and called them, they would not be like, oh, hey, how's it going?
We might get into this later. I don't really know where we're going in this, but in your database, do you have like somebody like that where you met them at a networking event? You got their email address, you have their name and phone number, but that's it. Versus somebody that you met at an open house 3 years ago that did have a real estate need of some sort because they inquired on a postcard home value or something, right? Do you have it separated into different categories, or is it all just the database?
Well, so I mean, I don't want to get too in the weeds on things, but when you get the initial lead through somebody inquired about their home value and you put them into the system, they are a seller lead through whatever website they registered at, right? That's the lead source. And then what's supposed to happen is they go on a follow-up plan then to try to convert them to business. And that would be, if you're following the MREA models, that would be some sort of 8x8 or a 10 days of gain kind of smart plan campaign where you're reaching out to them regularly because they raised their hand and said, I have a real estate need. So they're still probably tagged or labeled in your database as, seller lead, home value, website. But it's been 3 years. And now they might have sold that house. But every person, this is how I look at it. Every person is a lead for the future if you have their contact information, because everybody moves in their lifetime.
Yeah.
They're just not ready yet. They're not willing, ready, able. So they're not a lead today unless they are, unless you reach out to them.
They're a future opportunity.
They're a future opportunity. What happens is we don't know what to say to these people after the initial
8x8
plan or 10 days of gain.
And it'd be very costly over time if you keep adding hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people to your database at a clip, right? To stay in a weekly touch with them.
Yeah.
Like the weekly touch has to stop at some point, and somebody smarter than all of us said 8 weeks.
Well, yeah, they did research on it, and this was years ago, so I do think things have changed, that if you met a true lead and you only touched them once a week, you probably have lost
right.
out. That's why people came up with 10 days of gain. It used to be called 10 days of pain because you were like reaching out to them. But then they rebranded it.
They didn't like the word pain in there.
But that would be touching every single day, because it is a hot lead, so you don't need to wait 8 weeks. But 8 weeks is somebody that you want to turn into your sphere, to add to your database. But no, and I can say this because I know I've done this before, where you meet somebody, you put them in there, and you don't actually do all the steps. You might have the perfect plan, but you don't actually do all the steps. So you lose touch with them. They don't actually convert into somebody who knows you.
They just become a ghost in the database.
They're just a ghost in the database. Yeah. However, you have all their contact information, so it's a lost opportunity if you don't do something with it. But people don't, because they say, well, I don't know what to say to that person. It's been 3 years, or they probably already bought or sold, or I don't remember who they are. They're not going to remember who I am. Like all of the excuses that we make around why not to make a call, why not to pick up the phone. Maybe, especially if you have their name and contact information, but you never tagged them or labeled them, and you're like, I don't even know who this person is.
Well, yeah, I've heard you say that.
That happens.
Yeah.
That happens. Especially, let me tell you, we don't have any of the equipment to do the rabbit hole situation.
No rabbit hole.
I'm going to go down literally a rabbit hole with our little bunnies bouncing around on here. One of the things that I've done before, where I had a large database and then I moved into a different system.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Oh, if you've ever done that before.
Migrating.
Yeah, if you've ever done that before, it is, first of all, it's time consuming, it's tedious, but.
And you don't want to do it like the way people sometimes move, which is that it's got that full closet and it's full of stuff, and it's just easier to dump it all into boxes and move it to the next house. You want to go through it and filter it out and throw away the stuff you don't use. So when you're doing that exact same thing with a huge database of people and information, it's, I'm sure, incredibly overwhelming, on top of just the work that it is, just the exhaustion, and then like, how did it get like this? And
you get all frustrated, especially if you had other team members in there messing around.
Yeah.
But it just becomes messy over time, and then you move into a new system, and inevitably it's supposed to be like this seamless thing where you download a CSV file and then you upload it to the new system, and everything gets retagged exactly right. Well, it never, ever works that way.
Yeah.
And so while long term, I think it was valuable for me to do that, because we did that probably like 8 years ago, 7 years ago, moved into a new system, and the long-term benefits outweighed the issues at the time. But
there's still issues at the time.
But I can go through, like I can audit my database of people right now and find people that have no tags. And it's like, how did that happen? I know they were tagged at some point in the past in the other system, but it just didn't transfer over, and there were too many people to go through, so we had to prioritize who were we going to make sure was clean. And that was going to be the past clients, the sphere, to make sure I didn't lose track of them. And so this is like an ongoing thing. This isn't something that's been resolved and solved all at once, but it's one of those things I think about pretty regularly. Like, there's just opportunity just sitting there.
Yeah.
There's just dollars sitting there that are not being recognized. And that's the case. You'll hear people say stuff like, there's gold in these hills, and they mean like your database, and the fortune is in the follow-up. And these things exist because if you just do a quick audit, like if you go find, if you have, again, years of adding people, this is not, I'm directed towards brand new agents, you wouldn't have years of adding people yet. But if you're brand new, hear me out, make sure you set it up for success from the beginning.
Right.
And have a plan for talking to people long term.
Well, everybody that we're talking to today, new agent or not, everyone's bought a new computer, right? You buy that new computer, there's nothing on the desktop, it's all clean, and you say, this time, I'm going to keep this organized, right? And then, and it becomes a mess, like really quickly. Like I started to make these folders, now there's nothing in it, and did I set this up on the right drive, and all of that stuff that happens. And it's like your database, maybe today, has 200 people in it. But in 15 years, it's going to have 10,000 people in it. So do it now and plan to scale up, right? I'm sure you could go into Claude or Chat GPT and explain that you're a new agent and what is the best way for organization for my database, not my sphere, my database. And you could get help in how to label and how to plan for the future, because this one here and that database, this has been a thing from before you migrated to the new system of this thing is a mess. And then it was like, okay, we're migrating to a new system, so we're going to use these tags and these tags only, and and other people in there, admins adding stuff and other agents and making up their own tags and abbreviating neighborhoods with different abbreviations from what the other, and it was a mess. So plan on putting a system in place with like a Bible of what you're going to do that you can follow from here to eternity, so that you can always track everybody down in there. Because what's the point of having it all organized? So that you can market to each direct group because they're all tagged properly.
Well,
right?
And I mean, if you think about any other retail store, like when you go and you're shopping on a store and you get all their marketing emails. It's like, that's because you gave them some information and now they've got you set up on a system that you're going to get those emails for the rest of your life unless you unsubscribe. And too often we as agents think like if an email gets kicked back, we'll throw away the lead. But you still have a phone number and maybe a mailing address, or the phone number stops working. So this has definitely been an issue when I've had team members where they'll tag it as I would never let anyone throw anything away.
Yeah.
This is like how I live as well.
This is just in general in her life.
Like, you don't throw anything away. You might need it. But in a CRM, this is your business. As you work really hard every day to gather people's contact information to be able to market to them so that when they one day want to buy or sell a house or invest in real estate, they think of you. But they can only do that if you keep their information and you keep that running.
Right. And the difference with this database is these are all people that one way or another have crossed your path.
Well, they never. I never. So let's clarify that.
You didn't just go to a phone book and just take a list of people. These are all people that have crossed your path somehow, some way, right?
Yeah, and I think maybe to clarify too, like if you go somewhere, so let's go back to the beginning. You go to an open house, you register someone, they're an open house lead, that's their lead generation source, you follow up. But over time,
they disappear.
They need to be on a follow-up for life plan that isn't geared around, I met you at an open house, because after a couple years, they're not going to remember doing that anyways. And they might have bought a house, but that doesn't mean you can't do business with them in the future if you're communicating with them.
Yeah.
But or you go to an event, or they inquire on your website about something. These are not people that, like, if you're doing expired or for sale by owner lead generation, the only way people from expired or for sale by owner lists make it into my CRM, that's my database, is if I actually had communication with them and started some sort of relationship that I could follow up on.
Okay.
So I would never take like an expired list, like today's expired listings,
Right.
and put that into your general database. Have a separate system for that kind of lead generation. So a lot of people, and this is a bit of a rabbit hole too, but a lot of people use dialers or services for expired listings and FSBOs. Keep those people in that system until you have some sort of connection where maybe you've previewed the house or you've gone on an appointment
At
or
least
something,
talk to them on the phone.
and had enough, like had the ability to follow up, right? And
Right.
talking
Some
to them
sort
on
of-
the phone and they
right.
say, don't ever call me
Right.
again.
Well, of course, but some sort of back and forth.
Yeah. Then they can
in some sort
move.
of positive or neutral light.
And then they can move into the regular database
Right.
if you so choose. And again, you don't have to, but that would be the only trigger to do that, because otherwise you get a mess of people that not only don't know you, but are likely to have sold and moved out of state or something. I mean, they're seller leads that you never connected with. So I do think your database should have some sort of relevance to that you connected with them in the past. Now, if they've inquired on a website, they may never answer the phone or respond to an email, but I still wouldn't delete them because they inquired to you.
Yeah.
See the difference?
Yeah, 100%.
I can just want to make sure that's clear.
Yeah, I think I think that's really important. It's when, because otherwise the database could just be anyone in the world that has information, and that's not what whose information you've got. It's like, otherwise just go buy a list.
Well, and if you buy a list, you could do an ad campaign or a marketing campaign, but don't confuse those.
Right.
That's not
those
your
people
database.
don't go into your database until you do a postcard. Let's say you do a postcard run and you're sending them all a postcard once a month, and then somebody inquires about something and they go, yeah, but we're not really ready for another 3 years. I just wanted to know what my home value. Then they go in the database.
Well, that's
right?
a good example. So if you were doing farming, which we talked about on a recent episode, if you're doing farming, you're not adding all of those people's mailing addresses and
Right.
names to your database, your
Right.
CRM, because you don't have a phone number or an email address.
Right.
They're on a list and they're getting postcards or letters.
You've got the huge ocean, which is everybody in the planet. Then you've got the Great Lake, which is your database, right? And then once you start to work with them and you've done business with them, they get to go into your aquarium, which is your sphere, and it's inside and it's all taken care of, and you polish the glass, right, and stuff. It's like that, and that's your sphere. But you pull people from that database to work with, then they go in your sphere. But that's what you covet, is that sphere, and that's your engine of your entire business. You're trying to get everybody from the ocean into your database, into your sphere.
Yeah.
Right? And then that powers your business. And like we said before, Catherine's business is 80% sphere, past client and referrals, and she's in the top 100?
Yeah.
Top 100 sales agents in Central Florida. Or in Central Florida. So you're everything you're doing is trying to get people into this sphere, and then that's it.
Well,
But that's how you can see the hierarchy of how things exist.
Yeah, if you've ever read the MREA book or the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, there's like this circle target thing in it, and it shows you like you've got the general public, then you've got I don't have it in front of me, but you've got like your targeted group, and then you've got your sphere, and then you've got your core advocates, and you're moving people into the circle. So everybody's general public. Like I could go walk down the street today and meet someone, and that was just somebody I met randomly. However, now if I collect their information,
right,
and I know something about them, I can put them into some sort of targeted group, communicate with them over time, and try to work them to have a better relationship, to move into my sphere.
Right.
And you're moving those people in.
Right.
But probably if you're listening to this and you're like me, you have a list of thousands of people that you collected data from various sources
over years,
and you had follow-up plans in place, and you followed up for years, maybe even, and then at some point, like, they fall off because you lose track of, like, what do I do next? What do I say next? I don't have a phone number anymore, so I should just throw them away.
Or they didn't really know who I was then, and now it's been 6 months,
Yeah.
Am I just calling old leads? Is there a better way to spend my time? We said the other episode, people have a hard enough time calling their sphere.
Yeah.
They're going to call some random database we're saying where they don't remember you probably don't remember them either. So it makes it even more difficult, right?
Yeah. I think, so step one is just acknowledge, like, find out how many people you have. And the MRA model says that your haven't met database, so people you've not met. Mm-hmm. Which isn't necessarily your entire database, right? You could have met them at a networking event. You could have met them at an open house. You could have met them at a community event and got them registered for a raffle and put them into your system. But I still think that the conversion on people that you've collected data and then they didn't actually turn into a sphere or past client, the data is probably going to still convert at the same level because they might as well be haven't mets, except the difference is you actually have their contact information so you can connect with them. Mm-hmm. So haven't mets is 2%. So one conversion for every 50 people. Most of us are not getting that from that group of people because we're not communicating with them.
Right.
Because there's no follow-up system in place. They're just sitting there dead. Mm-hmm. Like they're completely cold. And so I think the first step, and again, I said, like, in reality, this is something I'm working on, is I created, the beginning of this year, I created a couple 8x8 plans to re-engage with those people, because a lot of them had, like, if you went through and they weren't a specific lead within the last year or sphere past clients, they maybe were on some sort of long-term nurture, but it was just a generic thing. Mm-hmm. But that's it. And the more people you hire over time, the messier this can get if you don't have. And I thought I had really clear systems, and I still think that they're there, but you have to constantly, if you've got other people that are going to be touching that list, the systems might be super crystal clear, but if you're not checking to make sure that people are following them.
Yeah, because they're going to spend 2 seconds looking, trying to figure out what the tag is or whatever, and be like, okay, moving on.
Well, because it's the same reason.
It's not their database.
It's the same reason that a solo agent gets it so messy. Is like, because we're looking for the stuff, we're looking for the low-hanging fruit.
Right.
I want the thing that's going to close today.
Right.
And so I'm not going to spend very much time on these old leads.
Right.
And I'm not saying to go start calling them one by one in lieu of your sphere, but this is kind of that, I don't know who to call today. It's like, you probably have a list of people that you could call if you really truly have finished all of your sphere calls, and you really truly have already scheduled your open houses and done your expired and FSBO calls, and you've really truly done all the things that you could do, but you don't have any appointments. This is where the highly effective agents go and look through those old leads and start calling them, or creating a system to get them to raise their hand. That's the key, right? Is like we said the other day, like, about when we were talking about other lead sources, like open houses, right? Or even expireds, or even FSBOs. Like, the amount of money that needs to be spent up front is such a small amount that it's why it's suggested so much for newer agents to do, because you don't need a lot of capital in order to do it. Database costs a lot of money if you're going to do it the right way. The benefit of that, so it becomes this third generation or secondary lead source down the road when you have a marketing budget, and the good thing is that in order for you, by the time you have enough money in the coffers to have a marketing budget, usually that goes hand in hand with the number of people you now have in your database. Mm-hmm. So when you're a first-year agent, you don't have that many people in your database because you haven't done that much yet. So there's no money to spend on postcards unless you're just randomly buying lists and sending it out. But that's not your database. That's someone else's database, right? But over time, your database, it's all people that you've added to the list through other postcard means or through whatever it happens to be.
you tried an email, a newsletter at one point, and you tried this at one point, and they all just keep going in. Now all of a sudden, a few years have gone by. You have a small marketing budget. Now you have a list that was created by you, right? They're not Sphere. They're just this list of people that you can start to market to again, right? Or for the first time.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to cost anything. Like all I did the beginning of this year, because I don't necessarily have mailing addresses for all of these people. So I created an email campaign, and I just acknowledged to myself that I'm just going to email this group of people and try to get some people to raise their hand and tell me their timeline. Like that's the purpose of the campaign.
Do you think that also it's because your database is at the size in which it is, where you might get people to come back to you because you're touching so many with the email campaign?
Well, it's a numbers game, right?
Right, it's a numbers game. So as a newer agent, it's like, well, I've got like 75 people or I've got 150 people. It's not enough. Right?
Yeah.
So keep adding to it, keep adding to it, keep adding to it. And then eventually it becomes quite a few thousand.
Well, you're supposed to, in the MRA book, it says that you're supposed to feed your database every day. You're supposed to add to your database every day. So what does that look like? It looks like scheduling community events where you go sponsor and you meet people in areas that you work. It's reaching out to your farm area, sending postcards, getting them, and that's feeding your database. Because not all of them are going to be these hot leads ready to go. So they're going to end up in this mass group of people that we call database that you're then looking for business over time. And that 2% conversion, that 1 in 50, I think that only works if you really do keep in touch from the moment so let's use networking, or not networking, like a community event, because I've done a lot of those. Okay. There was like a time period where I was just like the sponsor of everything in our neighborhood.
Yeah, don't even take the 6-foot table out of the back of the
It's just
car.
Keep it handy. I need my raffle baskets, and that's how we would get people to sign up, was go host or sponsor the event or host it, and have a registration table. Get people to register to win
a gift basket. Go to Fresh Market, get one of those baskets.
And then I'm putting them in my database because I know we have one thing in common. We live in this general area.
Yeah.
And then they would go on some sort of 8x8, like, hey, I met you at this event, and then reach out. And then they would go on some sort of community-based email. But what happens after that first year, it's like, it's lost opportunity after about a year. If you and we think it doesn't work because we're like, well, I did all those events and I didn't really see anything from it. And it's like, because it's a lifetime career and you're supposed to keep going.
Yeah.
So that would mean that they would need to keep getting that newsletter forever. And possibly if you had their phone numbers and you made some sort of connection, you could even move them into more of an inner circle. But we, as per usual, this is some sort of very long term. So we give up too quick. Yeah. And we make excuses like, oh, well, I didn't do the 8x8, so they're not going to remember who I am, so I just not do the rest of the campaigns for the rest of their life. Then you might as well throw them away.
Yeah.
Truly. So I think the main reasons this doesn't work is you have no plan in place. You just are gathering information and putting it in there. Maybe making one phone call, like after you meet the person.
And then if that.
Right? Because then the next day comes and I just did this event. I know I need to call these people.
Right.
And keep in touch with them. But none of them said they had a real estate
It's so
need.
much easier just to write it off. You do the event and you talk to 3 or 4 people and you're like, oh, those are okay conversations. I felt like a realtor when they were talking to me. That felt good. None of them were really interested, the people I talked to. And anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
And then you go and do an open house, and then you never hear from them again. And it's
you want business.
You want the business, and you're like, if I do 4 community events and I spend $300, $400 per event, all I need is one person at that event to go, I need a realtor. And that's your marketing plan. That's how you're kind of doing it. And then the year is over and you're like, well, that was all a big waste of money.
Yeah.
And it's because you missed the point of doing it.
Well,
not,
it's kind of the point of everything is get contact information so that you can feed your database and then communicate it with it effectively over time.
It's the second two things. It's not the first thing. You don't do the community event to meet somebody who has a real estate need today and they want you to be their agent. But I think a lot of agents, especially new agents who don't know how this is supposed to work and don't have the patience for what this takes, don't see that until it's too late. And what happens when they don't meet somebody there? This doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're not even thinking of the follow-up. They're not even thinking of that stuff. They're like, I went to that event, I talked to 3 people, I'm not doing events anymore.
Well, so it's really easy to say like, well, database conversion doesn't work.
Right.
Because
I did all this stuff and I didn't.
Well, you say I've got 3,000 people in my database and nobody has a real estate need.
Right.
Or nobody calls me, nobody contacts me from that list.
Or I sent out, I'm going to get my new MailChimp account and I'm going to go put all these names in, and that's going to take forever because the transferring it from there to the MailChimp never works right. So I did all of that and I designed it all and I used their new AI to help me create the whole thing, and I hit send, and now I'll just sit back and I'll wait for the leads to come rolling in. Right? And it's like you send it to 300 people.
Yeah.
Half of them got kicked back. Or, a third of them got kicked back. And it's like, no one's going to call you on that. Nobody. It's like, this is a long process of doing it over and over and over again. Sorry, everybody.
Well, and you can't listen, all these events can have a more immediate impact. That's why you're doing the lead generation part of it.
But you can't track that.
The long-term... Well, yeah, you can.
You can track how many leads you're going to get at the event, from event to event.
Well, no, but you're talking specifically about an event lead generation.
Yes, that is exactly what I'm talking about.
It's probably 2%. You don't know these people. I don't know, or maybe it's more like you don't know these people and they don't have a real estate need.
Right. But that's my point. Is like, but I think a lot of agents look at the event as the marketing of everything. Like that's where.
But I get what you're saying.
And then it's like,
what happened? What the marketing? The whole point of all of it is the follow up for the rest of the
eternity.
Time. For the rest of your life. You're a marketing person. I mean, that is truly the way that you get.
You might get somebody at that event. You might. But the next 10, you won't get any. And that's my whole point, is you can't track it. If you can't track it and you can't scale it, then it's not part of the business. It's a bonus. Mm-hmm. So you bonused a lead at the event because that person just so happened to talk to you and just so happened needed a realtor. Mm-hmm. And so you got lucky. But that's not, you can't build a business on luck. You have to build business on things that you can track and scale.
We should take a break though.
Let's take a break.
If you're enjoying this episode and want more ways to seek your best, not just in your business, but in how you spend your time and energy, there are a few easy places to connect with us beyond the podcast.
Over on YouTube, you can find us at Seeking the Best Pod. We share full episodes of the show, short coaching clips, reviews of real estate products, and tips on building a real estate business that actually works in real life. We post videos on Thursday mornings.
Or find us on Instagram at On Seeking the Best. There we post behind the scene moments, short practical tips, and some of the real unfiltered stuff that doesn't always make it into the show.
And if you're looking for episode supplements like the Candy Bag, where Kat posts more in-depth ideas that we discuss on the episodes, head to onseekingthebest.com. You can learn more about us, buy some Seeking the Best merch, or send us a question that we'll answer on the show.
However you connect with us, thanks for being here and keep seeking your best.
And we're back.
All right, we are back. Our little bunny is still out here in the yard.
Oh, yeah.
Eating some grass.
Right over there.
We should definitely try to get a shot of this bunny.
If I can, I'll pop it up right here.
Okay, so we're talking database, though. And your database is this large group of contact information that you have that I believe would convert at this 2% that haven't met, because you met them, you captured them, but they never really moved to client or sphere Therefore, you don't really know them. You just happen to have their contact information.
Right.
They wouldn't recognize you if you called them up. So the conversion is going to be lower, but there is so much opportunity there because they still probably had a real estate need or they live in the community, and at some point in their life, they're going to move. And if you're top of mind to them because you've been able to consistently reach out to them every single month forever, then you'll be top of mind. And that's what we're after when it comes to this big group of people, is be top of mind for real estate. And because the reality is that there's thousands in our area, there's thousands of real estate agents, but most of them don't have any kind of follow-up plan.
Yeah.
Even for their sphere or past clients.
If you're listening to this and you've made it this far, you're already way ahead of the curve.
So I think sometimes we discount these people because we're like, oh, well, I put them in my database, but they never responded to any of my calls when I initially met them, and they're not going to remember who I am. I'm sure they've bought a house by now, and now they have an agent. Well, as we know, there's a large turnover rate for real estate agents, which means that their agent might not be in business anymore by the time they're ready to do real estate again.
100%.
And so that's why you
thing.
keep connecting with them. That's why you keep emailing them and you have them on this long-term follow-up plan for life, because at some point they're going to have that real estate need again, and it is likely that their agent is either out of business or never followed up with them.
That just reminded me of when I used to DJ at a bar downtown, and I used to joke because I would start at 9 o'clock and then go until 2 in the morning. And there were times where I would see people meet, fall in love, and break up all in the same night on the same arc. And it just kind of reminded me of like people who are like, oh, well, I talked to that person and I've got all their information, but yeah, they have a realtor. And it's like, I've seen agents get in the business, hang their license, and be out of the business before the seat even got cool. like in one week, they walk through the front door, they say thank you very much, they walk right out the back door, they're out of the business. So just because somebody says I have an agent doesn't mean that's going to last any length of time.
Now, this story I'm about to tell is specific to past client, not database, but I got a referral from a past client of mine that was my first ever sale. It was my first ever sale that I represented them as the buyer. And I also happened to be the listing agent. That's how I met them. And they bought that house. And at some point in our relationship of me following up with them as past clients, she told me that her daughter had gotten a real estate license. And I could have deleted her at that point. I could have said, "Oh well, no point."
I'm not gonna bother her. Her daughter's a realtor locally.
I mean, that would have been what most people do.
Yeah.
But because I don't throw anything away,
right?
Her daughter got out of the business, and I got a referral last year that closed. And it's that, I think that's just the key to all of it, though, because it applies to database too. It's like, just don't throw it away. I had an open house lead. Now, the original source was the open house. They met a different agent on my team at an open house. That agent left the business, moved out of state, but of course they're a lead that was generated and they're in our database. And they just kept getting the communication until about 2 or 3 years later, they reached out and were ready to buy a home. And so we helped them buy a house. The reason that happened was because of the follow-up over the long period of time, not the initial meeting in the open house. The person they met didn't even, he wasn't even in town anymore.
Yeah, he moved away.
There was
years before,
like pretty much right after you met the people. So
now, why do you think that person reached out to the Think Live Be team? Probably because of the marketing that they were getting for years.
And I'm going to be real.
And they said, finally, we're ready, and said, call that realtor. That is always sending us stuff.
Right. And honestly, it's not that it was the marketing itself.
No.
It wasn't necessarily the material.
That's the other thing too, is I didn't even think about this, but especially nowadays, it's like like, well, we have this person's been sending us stuff, right? They're obviously in the business and doing well because I'm always getting information
Hey,
from
it's
them.
been 3 years and they're still sending me stuff.
They probably
They're still
didn't call off the postcard. They probably just looked you up, but they had the information
Possibly.
in order to look it up. And then it's like, 300 5-star Zillow reviews or whatever it is, right? Whatever
have
they.
that many.
Well, you know what? My point being is that it's not necessarily the postcard that they're going to call on, I guess is my point. It's just being in front of them to such a degree that when they're curious, it's like everyone's got their phone on them. It's like, what's the name of that song that guy did? Oh yeah, well, let me look it up real quick. It's like we do it all day.
Well,
What show was that guy in? Let me look it up real quick.
Well,
it's like,
and I think this is the key part is because now I don't know because I didn't ask them, although I probably could because, again, they reached out. I helped them buy a house. I still communicate with them to this day. But was it that they remembered my name or the team name to then look us up? Or was it that it was consistent enough that when the time came, they had just recently gotten an email?
Yep, that's true too.
It kind of might be a combination of both, but
Yeah.
I think that that's the part that's really important
Yeah.
is that at a minimum, it's supposed to be 12 by 12, meaning once a month forever. That's how you would need to do it.
And it's a numbers game, so you're going to get a lot of unsubscribes. But
sure.
Like we said last week, the unsubscribes and the all of that stuff is all factored in to the.
I mean, that's why it's 2%,
2%. Yeah.
10% or
Yeah.
whatever. It's like at the point in which you're moving them to a 12 by 12 campaign, you've lost touch with their timeline,
Yep.
most likely. Or they didn't have one to begin with, and so they didn't respond to your initial messages because they're like, why do I want to talk to this realtor? I don't need to buy or sell a house.
Right.
And
the people who unsubscribe really don't. And it's like no skin off your nose. But the people who don't, they're like still, they would unsubscribe if they were like, I don't need this. I moved. I don't even live in your city anymore.
that happens
or whatever.
sometimes.
You know
People
what I
move
mean?
out of
Like,
the area.
Yeah. And it's like, that's fine. But the other people who don't, and it's like you've been sending them stuff for years, like these people that you're talking about, you know.
I was going to say something earlier and then we got off track, but I want to point it out is like you can audit your database at any time, and what you'll find is that I said earlier, there's gold in the mills. Like you'll find people that have bought a house like recently, like and you'll tell yourself as an excuse or a way to sort of write it off as like, well, they had an agent. Maybe
Yeah.
not. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they just met an agent at an open house a month ago and ended up closing on the new house. And had you kept in touch with them over the last 2 years, when you put them into your database,
Yeah.
you could have converted them.
Yeah.
You'll find those people. And I I would say this is a good exercise because I've done this over the years, not intentionally, more as like a cleanup audit where I do that and I find people calculate the lost income.
Oh, yeah.
Like just
Right.
kind of audit
Yeah.
a group of people. You'll find people that have recently bought. I'm not even saying like, oh, well, they ended up buying a year ago when I met them. They must have already had an agent. Okay, fine. I'm talking
Yeah.
they just bought in like the last 2 months or just sold. And you're like, oh man, they like literally just sold this house. If only I had kept in touch with them.
Yeah.
If
That's
only I had
a
kept in
good
touch with
reality check and something that'll really make you feel like garbage.
Yeah.
But you should do. Right? And because it'll maybe light a fire under you, and there is gold in those hills, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing is when we say 12 by 12, like 12 emails over 12 months, like that's what the MREA book says for haven't mets to convert at 2%. But I do think that in today's day and age,
That's following an 8x8.
yes. Because you would assume that in the 8x8 period, those 8 touches over 8 weeks or the initial lead campaign, that they remember who you are at that moment.
Right.
So that then when you put them on a 12 by 12, as long as it continues for all time,
They'll always remember.
they will remember who you are because they're getting something every single month.
Right.
But I do think in today's day and age, you can take this further and you can actually, first of all, you've got phone numbers. You could put them on a quarterly call. That's step one. If you've got phone numbers, be reaching out to them.
And if you're a newer
or if
agent,
they have no timeline to buy, maybe it's twice a year, but like
Right.
you have an opportunity to actually connect
yeah,
with a phone number, you should do that. And then there's also, with the dawn of social media, which I know that's not like new,
the
but
dawn.
the dawn of social
We're in like
media.
at least mid-morning,
But
or late evening.
but what's the lifespan of social
Well,
media?
we'll find out, but I think we're probably looking at dusk.
Okay, well, so, but my point of that was not the terminology, but like with that coming into play over the
Yeah.
last 20 years,
Sure.
you have the ability to actually connect with people there, or at a minimum, create an audience and run ads along top of your email campaign. So you could create an audience of those people because you have their email addresses. And so you could create an audience in Facebook and Instagram and just send ads to those people. So at least now maybe they're getting 2 touches a month instead of just 1.
Mm-hmm.
So you're either going to increase your conversion or at least have some sort of conversion. The reason that we don't get
Over time.
it's
So
always
don't go
over
buy a
time.
Facebook ad and spend $300 and hit send and go waiting for the phone to ring.
Well, it's like
it's over time. So
well, it's like I said, I'm re-engaging those people that have been dormant,
right.
right? And so by doing that, I've started an 8x8. That's still running.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to an end, then they're going to go on a 12x12. Because this is over time and I've lost touch with some of these people.
Mm-hmm.
It's
gonna take a while.
probably a couple years before I actually see the 2% of that group of people.
Right.
But what I'm looking for in this, and I'm seeing these results, is I'm getting people to respond. And the way I did this, by the way, is I used AI, of course. Well, I say of course, a lot of people
Yeah.
don't or aren't propagating it properly, but I used AI to create an 8x8 marketing campaign, email specifically, with the intention to get them to respond. That was the main purpose.
goal.
That was the goal of every email, is get them to respond. I just want them to acknowledge so that I know
that they've opened it and that
And-
they've looked at it.
I'm not trying to talk to them about do they want to buy or sell a house, because remember, these are like old things, so don't treat them like a hot lead, and or don't treat them like an old lead where it's like, hey, here's some tips to buying a home.
Right.
Well,
right. Jesus. Yeah. Yeah.
They probably don't have a need to buy a home
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
Or
And if
they've
you're-
put
and
it
if
on
you're-
hold for a
if you're
long time. I don't
contacting
know
people
yet,
with
right?
the emails and it's not pertinent information to them, they will unsubscribe.
Yeah.
Right. If it's something that is like, well, that's not about me at all. Right. If it's about dance recitals in Portland, and like, well, what am I getting this for?
Dance recitals
Well, I'm
in
just
Portland.
saying, like, what is the furthest thing away,
Yeah.
right, from me? It's like that doesn't help me in any way, and I'm not interested in any of those things. Unsubscribe.
Now I am still telling them that I'm a
Right,
realtor.
but that's not the goal.
But the goal is I
isn't
want them to respond.
Right.
And so, and I have, like, people are responding, and most of them, again, like, this is a long-term thing, most of them are responding with nothing other than, oh yeah, we bought a house a few years ago, or whatever.
Right.
Or, oh, we stopped looking. I don't care. You've now responded and told me something. I now have permission to respond back and ask more questions.
Right.
So it's just to try to elicit.
Smart. Yeah.
Smart.
Smart.
But I'm just trying to elicit some sort of response so then I can better communicate with them going forward. And then after that, it's the 12x12. It's the 12 touches over 12 years or 12 months for the rest of eternity.
Right.
And that's the part that I've gotten stuck on before.
Yeah.
And
Because as soon as the business shifts a little bit, it's the first one to go.
Well, and
right.
so-
the business shifts. We didn't make quite as many sales as we did last year or last quarter or whatever. So maybe, and I haven't seen a lot of success with this yet. So I'm just going to put it on pause. Right. It's the thing that always happens. You put it on pause, and then guess what? It doesn't work because
Yeah.
you paused it.
Well, So if you said there's 4,000 people in your database, that means there's 80 opportunities.
Right.
Not today, because you haven't been talking to them. Maybe over a few years.
Yeah, but that's a lot.
But it's a lot.
It's a lot. Even if you say it's over, let's say it takes a few years and then all of a sudden you get your first one, right? And then, but there's going to be 80 over that span. But you're still adding to it, the database, so it's growing anyway. And it's like, this isn't your main lead source. This is supplemental lead source.
Yeah. It's just the point of the conversation is that it is a lost opportunity.
Right.
The minute that we lose touch with somebody and don't put them on a continuous plan.
100%, yeah.
And let me go back for a second. I said, it's hard to know what to say to people over every month forever. So it really has to be, and I've resisted this, it really has to be a mass kind of communication. Unless they responded, they gave you some sort of information about timeline, and then they could go on a seller long-term follow-up plan or a buyer long-term follow-up. If they respond and say, yeah, we're actually looking for next year. I'm like, hold on a second, let me get that phone number. Is this still the right one?
Right.
But if they aren't responding,
the bigger your database is, it seems like, then the more opportunity you have for those sorts of plans. So there's not like you have some sort of like, this person's ready to sell in a year, let me put them on the seller plan. Well, you'd be basically creating a seller plan for one lead or one person and stuff. But over time, you'll be able to develop these different kind of things to be able to move people from the main database into future buyer database, or whatever, right?
I still think, I truly believe if you did nothing else but just like, if you don't have a CRM to automate things, but the list isn't that big, you could manually send emails.
Yeah.
It just has to be done.
Yeah.
And consistently. And what happens is, this is what happens, is like you start to get busy and you start to add people at these mass amounts. You do, like I mentioned, spending money on Zillow leads years ago in one of our seasons. Well, I got leads. Those people are still floating around in the database, right? But they're no longer a hot buyer lead. Not that they necessarily were when they came through either, but they're no longer this buyer lead that I should be nurturing as if they want to buy a house. But that doesn't mean I should just never talk to them again.
Or communicate in some way.
Or communicate in some way.
Yeah.
And so
that's what you're working on this year?
Yeah. Well, because it's one of those things that we put to the bottom of the list. And it makes sense. You should prioritize your sphere and past clients, your top 3 or 4 lead sources.
Yeah, this one's, what do we say, 1% to 2%, right? And it's like...
But to not do anything with it...
Yeah.
It's like, it pains me to think about all the
millions
lost.
of dollars.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars lost. Yeah.
Because there are people that have been trashed over the years.
Sure.
There are people that were in there that did do business that maybe I'll have an opportunity in the future, but maybe also I've lost out on because now they are somebody else's client. Again, I'm not saying don't try, but I'm just saying that's part of the numbers. That's why it's 2%. It's so easy to forget about these people and to just keep moving forward, like looking for the easiest, newest leads. But if you did this consistently over time, this is how you build a sustainable, predictable business. Is if I do this, if I add this many new people every year and I put them on this plan, over time, it will pump out 20 deals a year for me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then I know my other lead sources generate X number of deals.
Yeah, it's how you can actually plan for the year. Yeah. Create a business.
Yeah.
Instead of a job.
Yeah. I mean, literally, people sell lists of names. They sell books of business. That's what that is.
Yeah.
But I guarantee no one would buy my business right now.
Not with the database with no one's been in contact with, and
they wouldn't pay for those people, right?
Yeah.
It's not that they wouldn't buy. They might buy the business for what the sphere is.
And the systems, yeah.
And the systems. But there's another 3,000, 4,000 people that could be a sellable asset if properly communicated with, and I could show. And you can. That's the reality, is that the math works. It is possible. People do it all the time. And what stops us from doing it is we don't allocate any time to it because it's not the low-hanging fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't need to be super time-consuming. It's just really easy to forget about. It's really easy to say, oh, well, they're not buying today.
Yeah, it's the big giant closet with the door closed.
Yeah, I got one of those too.
Yeah, I know you do.
I might have more than one.
More than one. So.
But yeah, so I think the easiest way to do it, so what I did initially was I put groups of certain old lead categories. I started with certain things and put them on 8x8s. But I think you could break it down into chunks of like just 25 people a day, or whatever works for you. If you're going to do it manually, you probably are going to do it like per person. So I'm going to do 25 old leads a day. I'm going to send them personal email. And if you just did that and then started again with that group next month, you could do it manually, or you can spend, a block of time tagging people and creating the plan. Like I said, I do believe you've got to do some sort of re-engagement. You can't just hit them with some sort of market update mass email this month when you haven't emailed them in 3 years.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a big part of it.
For sure. Because everybody else who's their chances are, if they're on your database, they ended up in someone else's database too. In fact, for whatever reason, right? They went to multiple open houses back 2 years ago, right? So they got on that person's and so you sending out 2 years later your home value or tips to buy a house or whatever, it's like they already unsubscribed to 3 other ones that look just like that.
Well, and I think that's when we get unsubscribes. Like, listen, it's going to happen. That's all
part of the deal. Yeah, sure.
But when we get them, a lot of times
it's self-inflicted.
Well, because you just drop a huge list of people onto a mass email today without any initial sort of lead up to it. So like the last email in my 8x8 says something to the effect of, I'm going to add you to my best buy list. This specifically for like old investors. I had a group of old investors. I'm going to add you to my best buy list. And at some point I had asked them what areas they were still investing in. Because investors, by the way, I think you can treat a little bit differently because they probably still are always looking for a deal.
Yeah.
But you can, if you do the 8x8 right, you're going to get some responses. You might get something out of there, but the goal is just to elicit, do I have the correct information? Can I get any kind of timeline? Or like, what's their life like? Like they might tell you, oh, well, we decided to stay put and we built a guest house for our family. We were going to buy a big house together or whatever. And then you sort of know what their next steps might look like. You might get permission to continue talking, or you're going to get a really clear understanding that their email address doesn't work, their phone number doesn't work. But that's okay, because then you can truly delete that record and know what your database really consists of. So instead of saying, how many people do you have in your database? And you're like, well, I have like 4,000. You can say, I have 2,930 correct email addresses and correct phone numbers.
Right.
And they're all on some sort of plan. Then you can really see what is the opportunity over time.
Yeah, I mean, that's your ideal, that's your pinnacle, right? That's what everybody's shooting for when you say database, or is exactly what you just said. Few and far between, and it takes some work to get there.
Yeah.
Right. But like, she's still working on it.
Yeah.
Right. 20 years in and still trying to figure out and getting it together, because you go through times where people are being added, but there's nothing really happening to it. And we're not marketing to them the right way because we got too busy doing these other things and hiring somebody and whatever else, right? Or life gets in the way.
You had them on a year-long 12x12, but there was no trigger to add them to the next year's.
Right.
And then all of a sudden 2 years passes by and you're like, why are all these people not on any kind of campaign?
Okay. You get all worked up. All right.
But truly, a database is a list of people who will at some point buy or sell real estate, and it would be best if you keep in touch with them and continue the real estate conversation for the rest of their lives, so that you're the one they think of, but it has to be done consistently, and we're talking years of work.
Okay.
Make it simple. Your best move that you can use, not a grind. It's a tip that saves you time. Your best move. Do your best
All
move.
right, it's time for this week's best move. One simple move for whatever. I don't have the script in front of me. So you guys listening to this, you know what the best move is. Kat, what's our best move?
Well, your best move, I think it's the one small thing you can do this week.
Yeah, one small thing you can do this week. Not a big
Not
to-do
a big
list.
to-do list.
Not I haven't committed it to memory.
But your best move this week, I actually said something similar by accident, but it's choose 25 people from your database and send a simple, personalized check-in.
Simple.
Simple. It does
Easy
not
to-
need to be a
No,
big,
I just
long
meant,
thing.
No. I meant simple.
Yeah.
That's a simple thing to do.
Oh, yeah, simple.
Is what I meant.
25 people.
Yeah.
And that's over this week. So even easier. Start small. I think that's one
Yeah.
of the biggest lessons. I didn't put this in the lesson season, but like the biggest lesson I've learned is like, you don't have to sit down and do
All of it at once. And again, get overwhelmed. This is
And I still struggle.
take your own advice, by the
I
way.
still struggle. Like I'll sit down, I'm like, I've got to finish like cleaning up the database today. And it's like, it's not going to happen. Stop telling yourself that you're going to do that.
Yeah, and
I'm going to do 25 people this week.
And this is another thing about that this is a other piece of advice that I give you that we can also throw into this, which is it's not going to be, you're not going to finish it and it'd be like, there, the database is together. Look how beautiful everything is. Now, no one touch it.
Yeah.
There's always going to be stuff going in. It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be okay with that.
Well,
and just be aware. And the better it is, the more money you're going to make. So don't let it get crazy, but it's never going to be perfect. Like it's not a model home where you're like, you polish everything and then step back and cross your arms and go, there, it's done.
Because you're supposed to be feeding it every day and you're constantly cleaning it.
Yeah.
Like it isn't there's no finished project.
Once you can wrap your brain around that, especially if you're the type of person that needs to have finished things and not a lot of plate spinning, that's a hard thing to get through. I know it's hard for you.
I've had multiple coaches ask me like, how messy are you willing to let it be?
Right. Yeah, no, that's good. I've never heard that before. That's good. That's exactly it.
And it is a struggle, especially if you like organization and accuracy.
If you get stressed and feel uncomfortable because things are a little bit out of place or how messy, that's what that question that your coach is asking, because they want to know, who am I dealing with here when we're talking about completion and having things be where you're spinning plates.
Yeah.
How can you do it? So, all right.
Small wins. Small wins. Small wins. Small wins. Small wins. Small wins.
Kat, you got a small win this week?
My small win is that we're sitting here.
We're here? Yeah.
It feels so it's warmed up just slightly.
Yeah,
like
I'm not cold anymore.
I'm not shivering,
but I can feel the sun coming through the trees over here.
It's going to be a beautiful day here in North Carolina, and we're going to go.
I think the high is 79 degrees today.
Yeah, it's funny though because it's a small win to be here out of the heat.
Yeah.
But people are always like, "How's your vacation?" And it's like, "Oh, well,
does this look like a vacation?"
Well, we're
I'm sitting here
working.
we're still working.
Well, after this, I've got work to do. Obviously, it's a work day here, and then we got to go to one of our rental properties and do some repairs and
get magic erasering walls. Like it's not like we're just walking around going to the Biltmore
But to be able to take time in a different state where the weather is nice and to be able to have that freedom, like that's what everybody gets into real estate and says, I want freedom and flexibility.
This is what that freedom looks like.
This is what freedom looks like. I'm still working. I just get to do it where I want to do it and flex my schedule around doing other things that make us money and give us joy.
Not whatever. This, by the way. This makes us no money.
That's it. That's my small
Hey
win.
guys, for episode extras like the candy bag,
Yeah.
visit us on onseekingthebest.com. Go to our YouTube channel. You can see stuff there. I also don't know the end of the show
know the
and
end
stuff.
script.
Yeah, no, I don't. But thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
It's. I think it's. We'll figure this all out next time.
That's the one that I should know that one, right? So what is it?
We'll figure this all
We'll
out.
figure this all out next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Fall down, get back up, keep on reaching, don't give up. Step by step, nothing less. This is how I seek the best.
This has been a Think, Live, Be production.